In this video, we will just do a quick review of how to solve right triangles. And this picture right here is the key to everything. If you have a right triangle, then you're going to have a hypotenuse, which is across from the 90-degree angle. Okay, now if you pick a particular angle to look at, then the side that is across from that angle is the opposite side, and the leg that is right next to that angle is called the adjacent leg. So you have opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Now, the definition of these three trig functions are as follows. The sine of an angle is always opposite leg over the hypotenuse. The cosine of an angle is the adjacent leg over the hypotenuse. And the tangent of an angle is the opposite leg over the adjacent leg. And that's summarized by this funny word, Sohcahtoa. All right, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So if you know Sohcahtoa, you know everything. So looking at problem number 6, we have an angle that's given to us, so we might as well use it. Well, first of all, the hypotenuse is obviously right here. This is the hypotenuse because it is across from the 90-degree angle. Now let's deal with the legs. Because this is across from the angle, that makes it opposite. And because this one is right next to the angle, that makes it adjacent. Okay, so now let's look at our Sohcahtoa. Now the two sides that we're working with are the 19 and the x, the thing that we're given and the thing that we're looking for. That's opposite and adjacent. Okay, opposite and adjacent, that's going to be toa. Okay, so that's the function that we're going to use. Notice that the hypotenuse gives us nothing. All right, it's all blank. So either of these functions that involve the hypotenuse are not going to be useful. So that's how we know to do tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we go like this. Tangent of the angle, so the 32 goes right here, is equal to the opposite leg, which is x, over the adjacent leg, which is 19. So it's just a matter of solving this. And when it's set up this way, you really want to just multiply both sides by 19. Just simply multiply by the denominator. Okay, that way these will cancel each other out, and x will equal 19 tangent 32. And you can just type that into your calculator just like that. 19 tangent 32, just like that. And that is 11.8725, etc. So 11.873. So the answer is B. All right, for number 7, the angle that we're dealing with is right here. Of course, this 54 is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle. Across from the angle that we are working with is the opposite leg. Right next to the angle is the adjacent leg. So now let's consider Sohcahtoa. Okay, now the one side that's doing nothing, the opposite side has no number and it's not one of the things that we're looking for. So see the O? That's the opposite side. That's not going to be happening. See the O in toa? That's a no-go. So that leaves cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. All right, those are the two numbers we're working with. So we go cosine of the angle, which is x, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's 28 over 54. Now, when the variable is inside the trig function, we can get it by itself by doing the inverse of this. So we will say x is equal to the inverse cosine of 28 over 54. And this is something that we can just put in the calculator. Let me just move that over a little bit. So inverse cosine, so we'll do second cosine, 28 over 54. So that is 58.767. Okay, which is right there. So the answer is C. So moving on to number 8. Find the side length marked x. Okay, well first of all, this 23 is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle. I see we have this 57-degree angle right here. Across from the angle will always be the opposite leg. Right next to the angle is the adjacent leg. Now the adjacent leg is not doing anything. So when I write down Sohcahtoa, okay, whichever functions that involve adjacent are not going to be used because that's not a value that we have and it's not a value that we're looking for. So I see the A and I see the A. So that means I'm going to be using the sine function, opposite over hypotenuse. And here I see opposite and hypotenuse. That's what we're given and that's what we're looking for. So we always say the function and then the angle. So the sine of 57 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So that's x over 23. Okay, so in order to get x by itself, a problem like this, we will simply multiply both sides by 23. Okay, that way these will cancel each other out, and that will get x by itself. So x is going to equal 23 sine 57. And that's easy to type in the calculator. 23 sine 57. So that's 19.289. So that's going to be right here. The answer is C. All right, number 9 is a little bit different. We learned that the sine of one angle is always going to equal the cosine of another angle if we are talking about the two acute angles in a right triangle. So like if this is A and this is B, the sine of one angle is going to equal the cosine of the other angle. Or I could have said the cosine of A is going to equal the sine of B. The cosine of one angle is going to equal the sine of the other angle. So that's what we learned. So here's the same thing with just a different picture. Okay, so the cosine of one angle should equal the sine of the other angle. So the cosine of K should equal the sine of M. Okay, so the answer is B. The Bank of America Tower is the tallest building in Atlanta. It is 932 feet tall. From a point on the ground, 2,000 feet from the base of the tower, what is the angle of elevation to the top? Okay, so let's say this is the tower right here. Pardon my drawing skills, that was one crooked tower. But hey, you're going to let me slide. So let's draw the line of sight to an observer that's over here on the ground. Okay, so here's an observer. Okay, and so the building is 932 feet tall. Okay, and from a point on the ground, 2,000 feet from the base of the tower. So we're talking 2,000 2,000 feet from the bottom of the tower. Okay, what is the angle of elevation? So the angle of elevation is going to be this angle right here. Okay, that's the angle of elevation. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do Sohcahtoa. Okay, this is the hypotenuse, and across from the angle that we're looking for should be the opposite leg. Right next to the angle is the adjacent leg. Okay, notice that the hypotenuse has nothing. It's not a value that we're given, it's not a value that we're looking for. So any function that involves the hypotenuse will not be used. So sine involves hypotenuse and cosine involves hypotenuse. That just leaves tangent. So this is the one that we're going to actually use. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so that tells me tangent of the angle that we're looking for is equal to opposite over adjacent. So that's 932 over 2,000. So this is another situation where the variable is inside the function. So if I want to find that variable, I need to do the inverse trig function. So I'm going to do the inverse tangent of 932 over 2,000. So inverse tangent of 932 over 2,000. So that is 24.986. So the answer is A. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.